Sorry for the wonky vision, but I thought today we'd do a proper election special, whereas the last one was more of a rant, and I should take these out, because I'm speaking and it'll look stupid video plugged in, even though my thing makes a hell of a lot of noise, which I have to dub out. Unfortunately, yeah, we're going to look at the policies on where the different parties stand. So the key priorities: Conservatives eliminating the debt, the deficits. The debt's the same thing. There's more of an EU mandate, so they're pretty much all going to be doing that, so that's not really your own policy, maybe try to make it out, but it is. Now, my sister's daughter was going on about how she was going to vote for David Cameron, because basically her teachers brainwashed her into voting for it by going on about it all the time. And then when I pointed out that David Cameron wasn't going to be in for the full term, she went, well, that's a good thing. Why the hell are you voting for him? And something about hospitals that she didn't really understand about, and then she really pointed out in her own words that she was basically brainwashed by her teacher to vote for that person. So yeah, that's kind of dodgy that schools are doing that, and then they want to bring in the young folks, so yeah, get in schools and brainwash them to vote for who you want, even though they don't follow the actual policies or anything. It's just, oh, my teacher says that it's good and that it'll benefit everyone. Doesn't quite work that way. So yeah, also, I should have gone into the main instruction. If you don't vote, then you don't have a right to argue about it all, because, I mean, you know, if you don't go out there and vote, have your say. And they may go by all the swings and things and say that, so this party has this majority and this, so yeah, put your vote in that way, but then they only get that majority because people don't go out there and vote against them, and you have to vote the seats in to get a say in Parliament. And yes, it would be nice to have the majority based on purely the numbers rather than the number of seats, but then you can understand why that isn't the case, because, for example, if one has like 70% of the seats in Westminster, but they're not the party in power, it kind of seems a bit ridiculous then, doesn't it? So that's why the seat system works. And if you, because everything is devolved these days, you don't vote for the seats in your own council, then your own districts will be ruled by someone not necessarily in charge, who have different views on the things, and the devolved issues that maybe are the ones that matter to you. So yeah, go out there, have your say, vote, otherwise you're just part of the problem, really. And you can't say, oh, but it's all fixed and rigged, because you're not going out there and voting, and you're letting the people get that influence. Yeah, back to the thing. So cutting taxes by raising basic and higher rate starting points. So they're going to raise basic and higher rate starting points, so higher taxpayers will get even more of a leniency before they start paying higher rate taxes, which is just going to increase the cost on the tax system, because there's going to be less taxes coming into the government, so they're going to have to find that money elsewhere, which is really stupid. So helping people to own their own home and have financial independence in retirement, doesn't say how they're going to do that. I mean, I don't think they're really going about doing that. Providing an education system that helps children reach their potential. That's a very vague statement. Holding a referendum on Britain's EU membership. So you want to leave the EU? Yeah, you call parties that want to leave the EU racist? Dodgy double standards, eh? Main pages of Labour. Triple lock funded manifesto. Cut the deficit every year, again, EU mandate. Balance the books as soon as possible. So yeah, they're trying to cut as much as possible, just because the EU is telling you have to. Extra 2.5 billion for the NHS. Mansion tax on properties over 2 million. That's not really going to be that many people who have £2 million properties. The £1 million, you might have got a lot more taxes from that. Minimum wage to £8 by 2019. That's not really much of a raise, and by 2019, that's 4 years away. So you can raise it really, really slowly at basic normal rate anyway, so you're saying nothing. No raising VAT, NI, or high rates of income tax. Access to wraparound childcare at parents in primary school. Freeze energy bills in 2017 and give energy regulators new powers to cut bills in the winter. Okay, so maybe freezing the bills might make a difference, but I don't think the energy providers will be too happy with that, and also most of them will be cutting the bills anyway, so freezing them just freezes them higher rates, surely. It tends balance and budget fairly through a mixture of cuts and taxes on higher earners. I agree with that one. Increased tax-free allowance to 12,500. I believe it went up to 12,600 anyway, so that's nothing now. Guarantee education funding in nursery from 19 and qualified teachers in every class. Okay, so do we not have qualified teachers in class somewhere? 8 billion in the NHS. Equal care for mental and physical health. 5 new laws to protect nature and fight climate change. We'll find out what those laws are later, I guess. Rapid referendum on Britain's membership of the European Union, which a lot of them turn their policies on, purely because UKIP was getting many people supporting them. Control immigration. This isn't saying let's chuck out everyone who isn't part of the UK. This is saying let's have their standards like we have from the rest of the world, where people can't just come in and live here and claim benefits and do whatever the hell they want. Powers for voters to recall MPs, extra 3 billion a year to the NHS, and no tax on minimum wage. And the main pledge is for the Green Party, a publicly funded, provided health service free at the point of use. End austerity and restore the public sector, creating jobs that pay at least a living wage. Well, everyone wants a living wage these days. 5,000 social rented homes by 2020, so 500,000 extra socially rented homes, I imagine. Otherwise, it kind of doesn't cover how many they give in. Work with other countries to ensure global temperatures do not rise more than 2 degrees C. That might be very difficult to do. Scrap university tuition fees. Again, I don't know if that will work. Maybe, but I mean, poor families get free tuition anyway, so you're really just benefiting the rich people then. Return railway to public hands. I don't know if that will benefit people. Respect purposes, I'm not even going to talk about because I've never heard of them. So key priorities. We were already on key priorities, so why did it not work? Really? Right, the economy. You watch my internet gone down now. Come on, internet. Don't fluff out on me now. Just when I decide to do a video. This will be typical, wouldn't it? Apologies for that brief disruption. There was some issues. I needed to make this actually. That's a bit better. Because otherwise I've lost the side of the screen when I tried to talk to people. So, onto the economy. Now hopefully the internet won't fluff out again from other people using it. I hope that we are recording sounds. Yes, we are. Sorry for that test. Hide now. Okay, so the Conservatives make pledges for the economy. Deficit and run overall surplus by the end of the Parliament, that's 2020, which, as shown in other videos, EU mandates. Aim for full employment where anyone who wants a job is able to get a job. That sounds a bit high in the sky to me. But yeah, people want a job. If they could get a job, that'd be nice. Use money saved in reducing benefits caps to fund 3 million apprenticeships. Yet you're capping and cutting benefits and stopping people who aren't able to get work earning money. Hence the increase in suicide rates. Triple the number of startup loans to businesses to 75 grand. Well, we'll see if that makes any difference as Labour delivering a surplus on the current budget in the next Parliament. Well, that's what they're all told to do by EU mandate, really. Raise minimum wage to more than £8 an hour. Ban exploitative 0 hours contracts. That would be very good to get rid of 0 hour contracts. Because then it will allow people to have proper breaks and holidays and wages and the living wage and guaranteed hours per week and not, really, really exploitive things like that. And also getting around the working week via 0 hour contracts. So people have 64 hours and ridiculous things. Should increase some jobs. No additional borrowing for new spending. 80,000 more apprenticeships. Lib Dems deal with the deficit by 1718, a mixture of spending cuts and tax rises. They expand on apprenticeships and develop national colleges and vocational skills. Extend paternity leave to 6 weeks. And raise $1 billion for extra corporation tax on the banking sector. No, UKIP. Reduce Britain's debt. Doesn't say how. Refuel legislation and regulations from the EU. Remove those hampering British competitiveness. Because a lot of them are rather bad for the UK. That has come into effect since 2004, 2005, so it's not always been the case. It's fairly recent that the EU has been screwing us over. Negotiate a bespoke trade agreement with Europe, because obviously leaving the EU doesn't mean we can't trade with them, it doesn't mean we can't do normal exports and import things, so really leaving isn't going to be a problem that everyone seems to claim, because I don't know what sort of narrow-mindedness people have about leaving. And how's the UK's position at the World Trade Organisation, because the UK being on its own will give it more respect in the WTO. Green. Increase the minimum wage to £10 an hour by 2020, so that's an extra £2 compared to the other parties, which is a little more significant, but still by 2020 what they all want to give themselves some leeway. End austerity measures and restore public sector jobs. Good thing. Ban the 0-hour contracts. Again, good. Introduce a maximum 35-hour working week. What have I been saying for the longest time? I went to 36, but 35. Brilliant. You know how many extra jobs that goes to creating because of what I've been saying? That's an extra part-time job on top of that, but can pay someone rent and living allowances and food and give people more time to spend on. Sorry for knocking over my microphone. So people will have more time to spend on those activities, creating even further jobs and boosting the economy even further. Brilliant. Finally, someone's listened to that. So yes, I wholeheartedly encourage that. Respect party again, I'm not going to go into. Immigration. So Conservatives, migrants to wait 4 years before they can claim certain benefits on social housing. Again, it's about bloody time. But then the EU will cry foul of that because of freedom of movement. And that's why one of the major things that we want to leave the EU for. So, now how to work benefits for migrants or child benefits for dependents living outside the UK. Again, has that been the case for so long that people could claim child benefits for children that they aren't directly supporting but are living in other countries? That's ridiculous. How have they managed to get away with that? Negotiate terms on the freedom of movement rules. They're going to be like, no, freedom of movement, and do nothing about it. Sorry for cuts. Tougher and longer re-entry bans for rough sleepers, beggars and fraudsters. So again, this is just simpler to leave the EU and solve our own policies and sort that out. And it's not saying, oh no, we won't take in people who are actually working and skilled people and all the other shit, because we will still be doing that, even by leaving the EU. So don't get confused about that. 1,000 new border staff with proper exit checks to make sure that people are leaving who are meant to be leaving. Making it illegal for employers to undercut British employers and exploiting migrants. Why isn't that the case now? I mean, you wonder why people can't find jobs? Oh yeah, no, this stupid, what's her face? I can't remember her name. Oh yeah, there's a shortage of skilled hospitality workers in the UK. Janet Street Porter, who knows nothing the fuck about the industry, because there are a lot of skilled hospitality workers who are looking for full-time employment, but can't get it because they're getting undercut by unskilled people, not any extra skills. I mean, I've done I've done Gordon Ramsay's events, I've done loads of things that these things at the NEC and the ICC, and I'm very skilled and I know all of the proper etiquette of the hospitality and everything, and how not to be a twat and watch over someone but still be attentive and all this sort of shit. Oh no, she's been really taking a piss and talking bollocks that she knows nothing about. She stop having on everything under the sun. She knows nothing. I'm sure public sector workers speak English. Seriously, is that not the case already? I think any employee should be able to speak English. If you're working in this country, You should be able to speak English so that you can communicate with not only customers but your fellow employees and your employer. And if you can't speak English, you shouldn't be working. You should be out in your own country, boosting your own economy. 2-year wait before EU migrants could claim out-of-work benefits. Not really enough for me. It should be the same as America, Australia, Japan, Africa, everything. 4 years, 5 years. Lib Dems restore full entry and exit border checks. End indefinite detention for immigration purposes. So, what, do we keep people prisoner, or do we not deport them because that doesn't make sense? Export them, if they need to go back home, export them. Require new claimants with poor English skills to attend language courses in order to receive GSA. Well, yeah, you should have basic English skills to do anything in this country. Phase out child benefits for children living outside the UK about bloody time. Point system used to select migrants' skills and attributes needed to work in the country, like Australia did. Very sensible. That means we get the skilled people, and we don't get people just coming over to have benefits and healthcare. Set up Migration Control Commission, controlling numbers moving to Britain. Again, from 60,000 to 260,000 in a matter of a few years per year. It's kind of a big increase, and we need to take that back down so that people can get jobs and homes who live in this country and are looking for work and are getting, quite frankly, fucked over by the benefit system. They're going and illegally cutting the benefits. See my case on separate videos. 2,500 border staff, 5-year wait before migrants can claim benefits. Perfect. Remove restrictions on foreign students. I don't know what restrictions they are. Abolish family immigration rules requiring citizens to have a minimum income for their spouse to come and join them in the UK. Okay. I think you need to be able to support your spouse coming over as well, so I'm not quite sure on that one. More rights for asylum seekers, again, dodgy. People make up asylum claims, so do they really need more rights? No preference for those with resources or desirable skills. We want people who are going to benefit the country, not the people who are going to claim. So that's a negative for the Green, unfortunately. Health and care is a devolved power, which means it's based on your local council. Oh, come on, don't mess with me. Internet, play nice today, please. Okay, Conservatives. Spending increase on the NHS in real terms every year, so an extra 8 billion a year in England by 2020, but doesn't say that, what, 2 billion a year extra maybe? 5,000 more GPs, 7-day access to GPs, that time, an in-GP for every NHS patient rather than locum doctors who are stupid, 5 times more expensive, well, not 5 times, but it's at least 3 times, I believe. And they come from abroad just to get the extra wages and have no extra skills and are often pretty useless. Oh yeah, them dots in the back of your throat, they're nothing, but are suddenly grown out of nowhere. Spots. Yes, that's not because you've got an internal nosebleed that needs sorting. Not at all. Not an infection at all. Stupid locum Dr. Goals. Labour. Extra 2.5 billion funding for the NHS. To pay 20,000 more nurses and 3,000 midwives and 8,000 GPs. Repeal of the Health and Social Care Acts. I don't know what that is. Integrate NHS healthcare and council and social care services. End 15-minute care visits. So does that mean you get longer visits or shorter visits? Or just you don't get 15-minute care visits at all? Increase real-term NHS funding by at least 8 billion a year until 2020. Started with an extra 1 billion a year until 2018. So they're just going to do a big increase in 19 and 20 then? I apologise, I've got some stuff in my throat. Integrate health and social care budgets. 3.5 billion extra for mental health. This includes 1.25 billion for children and teenagers and 250 million for pregnant women and mums with depression. Extra $3 billion a year to the NHS frontline services paid for by leaving the EU, so they get an extra $9 billion for leaving the EU. So $3 billion a year goes to the NHS for that. Keep the NHS free at points of use. Good. Open GP surgeries at least one evening per week. An extra $1 billion a year to social care. Green. Publicly funded NHS free at the point of use. And privatisation of the NHS and repeal the Health and Social Care Act. Make mental health a great priority, especially with people getting fucked over. 1 in 4 people have mental health problems, if not more, because these are just the ones that they know about. Social care provided free if needed. And care is done, so welfare. Okay, welfare. Conservatives maintain the freeze in working age benefits for 2 years. Household benefit cut to $3,000 less. No housing benefit for 18 to 21-year-olds. So basically, stay at home or go to university. Ban on 0-hour contracts that bar work elsewhere. So they prevent you from doing another job. Gone. It doesn't say if you can still claim job seekers in the weeks that you're not getting enough work or no work at all, because that would be an advantage. But getting rid of the 0-hour contracts completely, best bet. Guaranteed job for under 25, unemployed for under a year, and adults unemployed for over 2 years. Scrap bedroom tax and housing benefit changes. Just the bedroom tax one though, not the other ones like the under 35s having to have shared accommodation and all the other stupid housing benefit rules. Or just done withholding them for 8 months and then going, oh yeah, we'll pay some of them, and then, oh well, why have you lost your flat all of a sudden because we've withheld them for so long? High rates of GSA for those who have worked for longer. Cap structural welfare spending. Lib Dems. Cap benefit rise at 1% PA for 2 years per annum. Scrap housing benefit cuts for tenants with spare rooms unless they refuse a smaller property. Carers bonus of £250 per annum. That's not a lot. A yellow card to people, giving them a warning before their benefits are withdrawn. Scrap housing benefit changes related to bedrooms. That's because I told him about the under 35 thing that's fucking over most of the country and causing people to have suicides. So thanks. Bringing that in. Needed. Help people out a lot. Restrict child benefit to 2 children and stop paying it altogether on children who do not live in Britain. Raise carers allowance. End ATOS-style disability benefit assessments. Benefits to disabled people. Brilliant. Consult on introducing a basic income, a fixed amount paid to every individual. I wonder how that will work. I mean, do you just get that regardless, whether you're working, not working, or nothing? It's just money you get for living, for existing? But they're consulting on it, so I guess they don't know how it's going to work. And workfare, where unemployed must work for benefits, because often they get taken advantage of from having to work, let's say, less than the minimum wage, just to get benefits. So you do full time for your £70-odd benefits. Yeah, really legal. And that's why there's no jobs, because people are just doing the workfare shit. Produce separate support for people with disabilities. Perfect. Axe the bedroom tax and work capacity assessment. You could do more, do the proper full housing benefit changes reduction. Then, yeah, I'd vote green. Perfect. But no, you're not quite doing enough on that matter, unfortunately. Scrap the bedroom tax. So I'm not even reading the step part again. You can look at it yourself. It's on the BBC website. Law and Order devolved. Not the Bradley Walsh show. Sorry. Conservatives made pledges banning orders on extremist groups. Introduce extremist destruction orders for those who have spread poison. I mean, we're slagging off the council for being bullshitters and avoiding things and cutting benefits, spreading poison. I'm not extremist though. I'm not telling you to burn down the government. Restore police agencies access to communication data needed to fight terrorism and organised crime, so basically let them sleep on you online. A new law on victims' rights. Well, I'm a victim of the government cutting off my benefits. withhold them for 8 months. I definitely lost a lot from that, so giddy right. Scrap police and crime commissions and invest in frontline policing, new commissioners on domestic and social abuse, because that happens quite a lot, and to men as well as women. Establish a victims law. Again, say more than Conservatives, so Labour are winning versus Conservatives, and the types vote for them so far. Bring back control orders to combat extremism and revive the prevent strategy. I don't know what that is. Scrap police and crime commissioners. End imprisonment for possession of drugs for personal use. Well, didn't they get rid of that rule that, I don't know about on harder drugs, but at least for weed they got rid of that. And all stop and search rules. Boosts police recruitment and black and minority and ethics groups. So I guess they're saying if you've got hard drugs in your house, then you won't get arrested for it. Which could really cause problems with the drugs industry, because people who are dealing it would, oh no, that's my personal use, that's just my entire year's stash. I don't know what you mean. Yeah, I can see a lot of people getting around that. Repeal the Human Rights Act and replace it with UK Bill of Rights. I apologise again. UK Bill of Rights, so basically like America. I don't know what the Bill of Rights will entail, but it will be our own drawn-up thing. Withdraw from the European arrest warrants. So what, we don't have to arrest people who are wanted abroad? Full prison sentences should be served, parole on a case-by-case basis, so you can't get half-time. No cuts to frontline policing. Cleaning. Decriminalise cannabis and treat drug addiction as a health problem. I was fairly sure for the majority cannabis was, just a misdemeanor, not criminalised, but again, I could be wrong. Prioritise tackling sexual and domestic violence. Again, a big issue, especially with rap and music. Well, it's not just rap, don't blame rap, but a lot of these music stars that are glamorising it in their songs, let's just say, and in their own actions, and footballers that are doing it, and media that glamorises it. Yes, steps need to be taken. Focus on restorative justice, reduce crime, and reduce the prison population. Yes, well, a lot of people are going into crime because of needing homes and also for skills. I overheard from one of these stupid training things that they forced me to go on job seekers, because people were saying how they were going to prison for specifically those reasons. So yes, I don't think that quite works. Tackle the root cause and why people do it. Housing. Conservatives. 200,000 new homes. First time buyers aged under 40 get a 20% discount. New Help to Buy ISAs for first time buyers to help get a deposit for ours. Keep mortgage rates low so families are more financially secure. Extend the Help to Buy equity loan scheme by 2020. Labour, 200,000 new homes by 2020, long-term tenancy agreements in the private sector, and a cap on rent rises. Although rent in the private sector is significantly higher than benefits allow you to pay for, so it's fine. Encourage banks to fund 125,000 new homes for first-time buyers in England. I don't know if they'll go with that. I mean, they won't lend out mortgages to people who can afford repayments who aren't earning less than £25,000 or £50,000 per year. Yeah, 25, 26, that's what it was. Even though it's like £40 a week rent, essentially, because of the repayment for that home. No. So people who need it, it's just going to help the rich. And if you're funding new homes for first-time buyers, but yeah, there's better reforms than that. Prioritise capital investment in housing to build more affordable homes that people can't get mortgages for and would never be able to afford. Brilliant job. Increase house building to 300,000 a year. Doesn't say how many of them are going to council. Set in motion at least 2 new garden cities. 10, not 2. That wasn't meant to come out. 30,000 rent-to-own homes by 2020. Ban landlords from letting out poorly insulated homes. You can prioritise social housing for people with parents born locally. Brilliant. You have to be local, you get a preference on home. Set green belts by making it easier to build on previously developed lands. So all them wasteland sites that you see that have been abandoned by Tesco and all this sort of thing, let people build on them. Perfect. Establish a brownfield agency to provide grants and loans. Referendums on major planning decisions. Green. Build 500,000 social rental homes by 2020. So social would be either the charity social or the council, but social fronted homes which are going to be discounted and affordable. And people can claim on benefits. So best of all, winner so far. Bring empty homes back into use again, winner. Especially for people who are just, oh yeah, I'm keeping the money. Rented house at least. An affordable rate. Oh no, people in town of it. Bring homes back into use, just don't let people hoard them, get demolished and fall into disrepair. Cap rent and introduce longer tenancies. Perfect. Abolish the right to buy council homes. Probably a sensible idea, because then, you know, if you can afford to buy one, you can afford to buy a home. Don't take it off the council, because they don't get to buy any in return. They're just taken out of the thing entirely then. EU politics, Conservatives, hold referendum on Britain's renegotiated EU membership. So renegotiated. They don't want to leave, they just want to try and renegotiate things that aren't going to work. Reform benefit tourism and tighten rules for migrants. Yeah, that's what everyone wants, and why don't they just leave and then they can sort their own rules on migrants and benefit tourism and all this other shit that works easier and quicker and more effectively. The EU mandate, which isn't working. Secure more trade, but not an even closer union, because that doesn't work. More control of justice and home shares. Again, we get all our laws back if we just leave. Get a better deal for British taxpayers. Labour. Reform of the EU budget to shift away from cap spending. Take action to ensure EU migration does not lead to workers' wages being undercut, which it does, and a lack of jobs, and lacks of homes, and so many people coming in that you can't cope with in this country. Enhance UK's influence on a reformed Europe. 2-year wait for EU migrants to claim benefits. No, not long enough. Lib Dems. Remain in the EU, opening new markets for British businesses. Well, we can do that anyway, because that's how the trade works in the world. Hold an in-out referendum. There is a plan for material transfer of sovereignty from the UK. So, what, are we giving the EU more control? I don't know how that will work. Well, with the EU, it's tackle organised crime. Fight agreement to halve EU greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. UK leave the EU following referendum outvotes. Or legislative powers to Westminster. Negotiate a new trade agreement with the EU. Green. Hold a referendum on UK's membership to the EU. Reform the EU and hand powers back to local communities. Pardon me. Support freedom of movement from one of the founding principles of the EU. So they're saying that more people can come in and do whatever the hell they want. Keep the social and environmental standards set by the EU. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. They've got some policies that work, some that don't. Just as you can have some that work and some that don't. Labour have some that work and some that don't. Conservatives, yeah. Environment is a devolved power. Again, devolve to your local government or devolve to Scotland, Wales and Ireland and all that. Conservatives. Set the environment's greenbelt planning system. More than $3 billion to 2020. Phase out subsidies for new offshore wind farms. Give local authorities decisive say on where wind farms are built. Or wind farms should be built where they'll be generating the most power for the money. Protect publicly owned forests. Labour. Freeze gas and electricity prices till 2017. Reduce carbon emissions by 2030. Priorities flood protection. Yeah, that's a good one. End the badger cut. Lib Dems. Double renewable energy by 2020. Decarbonise power sector by 2030. Lean to zero carbon Britain by 2050. That's pretty long term. Plant 750,000 trees a year. Charge for plastic bags. Promote use of electric cars and public transport. UKIP. Repeal the Climate Change Act 2008. Protect the green belt. End green taxes to cut fuel bills. Prioritize supports organic farms. Green. Phase out fossil fuel-based energy production and nuclear power. So what will we generate power with? Wind? Water? We won't generate enough power. Reduce all UK greenhouse gas emissions by 10% by 90 of their 1990 levels by 2030. Okay? Invest in renewable energy sources, flood defences and building insulation. Ban fracking. Okay. Taxation. Getting there. It's a long process. Half an hour later. Raise the personal allowance from that to that. Yeah, 12,500. Remove family homes worth up to 1 million from inheritance tax. No. Yeah, trying to cut the benefits, but do silly things like that. 40% tax rate. No, you're raising it so that even more people get tax cuts. That's not good. No rising VAT. Labour, reintroduce the 50% top rate. Good. People earning over 150, the 10% stamp rate, no rise in VAT. Introduce a mansion tax, again a bit too high. Abolish non-dom status. Raise an extra 75 billion a year by cutting down on tax avoidance. Tax avoidance is the one to get and the rich people and all the other shit that avoids taxes. Lib Dems, raise the income tax thresholds. Again. Raise up to 1.5 billion from tax on homes worth over 2 million. Raise 14 billion from tax rises on corporations, the wealthy, and reduced tax avoidance. Increase charges to non-doms, raising another 30 million. Okay, UKIP, increase personal allowance to 13,500, scrapping inheritance tax. Introduce a 35% tax rate on homes between that and that, and 40% thereafter. So at least they've got a medium rather than just getting rid of it entirely. So they still get some taxes. Make big businesses pay for their fair share of tax. Good. Green. Close taxation loopholes and crack down on tax avoidance. Perfect. Introduce a wealth tax from 1 to 2% on people worth 3 million or more. Sounds reasonable. Salaries above 150,000 a year. Incur 60% income tax rate. Brilliant. Introduce a financial transaction tax, a Robin Hood tax on banks. Sounds quite reasonable, especially if they're paying such ridiculous bonuses. They should get tax through. Constitution. So the Conservatives devolve further powers to Scottish Parliament. Introduce English votes for English laws. Reduce the number of MPs in parliaments. So that would make elections pretty harder, because the seats and MPs, I don't know how that'll work. Equalise the size of parliamentary constituencies. Labour, a new Scotland Act. Greater Saxon power, it's basically devolution. Devolve 30 billion of funding to the country regions, or county regions. So 30 billion of funding goes to the city and county regions, while the rest goes just to London? I don't know, that doesn't quite sound right to me. Replace House of Lords with an elected Senate. Votes for 16 and 17-year-olds who get brainwashed by the schools. Lib Dems devolve further powers to Scotland and Wales. Bring 16-year-old votes. Reform the House of Lords. Cap annual political donations at £10,000 per person. UKIP. Recall MPs by 20% of the local electorate signed a petition within 8 weeks of them voting. Reduce the Barnett formula. And give. Why have you skipped? What has happened here? Half it's disappeared. What the hell happened there? My thing is spazzed. Reduce the Barnett formula and give parliaments and assemblies for the taxpayers as compensation. You all saw that, right? English only votes in Westminster. Green. Establish People's Constitution, Convention, radically change EU, UK government. Give 16-year-olds the right to vote. Further devolution in the UK. And change all voting systems to ensure the proportional representation rather than the seats. transport. There's a devolved power again, and the internet is spazzing again. Okay, Conservatives deliver the biggest programme of adjustment in roads since the 1970s. To deliver the biggest instalment in railways since Victorians. Reform strike laws on transport network. Start work on HS2 and continue development of HS3 Leeds Link. That might work actually, Leeds to Manchester, I'm happy with that. And don't put HS2 through Stoke, what's the point in that? Just because, they want it. It works better the other way. Labour, allow public sector rail operators to bid to take new lines, cap annual rail fare increases, devolve regional transportation decision making, give cities and regions London-style powers to regulate bus services. Lib Dems, 16 to 21-year-olds 2/3 off bus track. Oppose expansion of Heathrow and all the London airports. Electrify old suburban and major railroads, reopening many stations. Okay, I don't know if that'll help anyone. Support loads rail schemes in urban areas. UKIP, scrap plans for HS2. I don't know. Post toll roads. Require foreign vehicle to purchase a brick disc. Sounds a good idea. Ensure speed cameras are not used by councils. Perfect, because they have been doing that. Renationalise the rail system for Greens. Introduce an immediate cut of 10% on public transport fares. Perfect. Scrap HS2 again. I'm not too sure about that, because that'll help more than it hinders. Promote cycling and walking to reduce pollution and improve people's health. So you're going to spend money on that, on the adverts. Okay, local government is obviously devolved because it's local. Continues to keep tax down and impose new town hall taxes. Strengthen incentives that councils have to support enterprising growth. Make greater use of direct democracy such as local referendums. Deliver more bespoke growth deals in local councils. Labour for 30 billion of funding business rates to England's city and council regions. Encourage councils to keep tax as low as possible. Give communities power to limit the number of payday lenders on their high streets. Yeah, payday lenders that are pretty much authorised. Well, I can't think of the term right now, but the dodgy ones that is like 1,000% APR per month. Like, what the hell? Loan sharking? Yeah, that was illegal in some days. But no, now, as long as you're registered as a business, you're perfectly allowed to do that. Lib Dems, stop making councils hold referenda on council tax changes. Devolution on demands. Extend separate food waste collections. And strengthen community rights to local services. I don't know about separate food waste collections. You can keep council tax as low as possible. Limit the number of high-paid council employees. That sounds a good idea to me. Make council decisions subject to local referendums. Support weekly bin collections. Green. Raise power to local. Restore higher levels of local authority funding. Allow local authorities to favour local government to help recovery. And ban out-of-town car dependent retail parks. And then the last one is rural affairs, where Conservatives will invest 2.3 billion to protect 300,000 homes on flood defences. Work to improve and simplify the common agricultural policy. Continue to cut red tape for farmers and rural businesses. Implement comprehensive strategy to eradicate TB. Labour, earlier winter fuel payments for pensioners. Bring off-grid energy to limit the often electric. Yeah, I'm using it. It's been a long time reading and speaking. Devolve substantial funding and powers to county regions. Lib Dems, science-led approach to combating TB. Work and restore habitats for bees and other wildlife, which are dying off. Complete the coastal path and harness the right to roam. Complete the rollout of high-speed broadband to 99.9% of homes. Sounds good. UKIP, leave the Common Agricultural Policy and replace it with a single payment for all farms. Give the British Parliament a vote on GM foods. More information about food labelling. and abolish the export of live animals for slaughter. Yeah, because they do suffer going abroad, so, you know, if they're going to get killed, then obviously the whole meat thing, I don't know. Then the budget call for Greens and factory farming and animal testing and improve the protection for animals. Work towards replacing the use of common agricultural policy, support for organic agriculture, sustainable land management, and the organic food markets. So that is all of the issues on the election for all of the parties at the current date, according to the BBC website. Pardon me. So I hope that's been informative to you, and you can actually make some decisions and see what works for you rather than just voting whoever your family has always voted for or whatever your district has always voted for. Actually vote on issues that matter to you. Pick the ones that work most for you. Which parties have the most things that work for you? And maybe they won't all work for you, but they get seats, they get stays on these things. And if you, for example, have things that are Green, some things that are UKIP, some things that are Labour, you can have a mix of them all because they all probably all share power for how it will work. It's hard to say who will actually get in, but as long as you vote for who matters for your local district with the devolved powers, then obviously that will make the most difference entirely. And yes, so be sure to make your vote count and go out on voting day. Vote for the issues that matter most to you, pick the ones that matter the most to you, and make sure you keep on at your MPs and locals with the issues that do matter the most to you to make sure that they get represented rather than issues that mean nothing to anyone. So, thank you for watching.